When we think about survival, our minds usually jump to the physical stuff, right? Building a shelter, finding food. But what if I told you the most critical battle, the real fight, isn't out there with nature? It's the one that happens right up here, in your head, in those first few chaotic minutes. And today, we're going to dissect those exact moments by walking through one person's incredible story.
So that brings us to the core question, doesn't it? Before you can even think about a survival plan, what is going on in your mind? What happens in that initial tidal wave of pure panic, confusion, and fear? To figure that out, we're going to follow the story of a young woman named Mariana. Okay, so let's get into it. The first stage of a real crisis. Look, it's not about strategy. It's not about making a plan. It's pure sensory overload. It's your body just reacting way before your mind can even begin to catch up. And for Mariana, this whole thing kicks off with just complete and total physical disorientation.
Think about this. It doesn't start with a thought. It starts with a feeling, a physical sensation. Sand in her mouth, that gritty texture. And this isn't just, unpleasant. It's a primal alarm bell going off. It's the body's first signal that, hey, the world is not right. Something is seriously wrong. And it's a physical feeling that hits you long before your brain can piece anything together.
And then, right on top of that, another sense kicks in, adding to the confusion. The air is hot, it's damp, and it's thick with the smell of salt. So her brain is just frantically trying to gather all these clues, right? Taste, smell, touch, but it can't make sense of it yet. It's all just disconnected raw data, a puzzle with no picture on the box. And then the pain hits. A throbbing in her head that just clouds everything else. You gotta understand, pain is an incredible distractor. It makes clear, logical thought pretty much impossible. She's hurt, and her body is just screaming at her. So finally, she tries to open her eyes, but the light is just blinding. It's overwhelmingly bright. When her vision finally starts to clear, all those puzzle pieces we talked about, they suddenly snap together to form a terrifying picture. Damp yellow sand, a broken seashell, a couple of palm trees. She's on a beach, and she is completely, totally alone. Okay, so here's the crucial point. After that initial assault on the senses, the mind does something amazing. It desperately tries to create a story, a narrative. It needs context. It has to answer that one single burning question. How in the world did I get here? And what's so interesting here is how her mind starts to piece the chaos back together. It doesn't start with the trauma. No, it starts with a peaceful memory, a calm morning, just fishing with her uncle. And then, bam, the jarring trauma hits. A thundering wave flipping the boat, getting thrown into the water, and that desperate, exhausting swim toward an island, fighting every single instinct that's telling her to just give up. This whole timeline, it's not just a memory. It's her brain finally understanding just how bad the situation really is. And right there, with that flood of memory, a whole new crisis begins. The physical shock, that's starting to fade, but it's being replaced by something maybe even worse, a crushing psychological shock. See, those memories have provided the context she was looking for, and that context is absolutely terrifying. This slide just lays out that brutal shift perfectly. She realizes hours have gone by, it was early morning, now it's noon. The calm fishing trip has turned into an absolute nightmare. She's trapped on a tiny island, maybe the size of a soccer field, but get this, the most devastating contrast of all? Before, she was with her uncle, and now she is completely, utterly alone. And this is where hope just starts to crumble. The questions she's asking herself start turning into horrifying conclusions. It's a downward spiral. Where is my uncle? That quickly becomes, oh no, maybe he drowned. Any hope of rescue just evaporates when she realizes the boat is gone. No one is coming. Every single one of these thoughts is like a hammer blow, leading to that one final paralyzing realization. I am trapped.
In this quote, this is it. This is rock bottom. It's the moment she stops being a person and starts seeing herself as a victim, just a passive character in some awful tragedy that only has one ending. This is the point of total, absolute despair, where giving up doesn't just feel like an option, it feels like the only logical thing to do.
But this is also where the real story of survival begins. Because even in the face of absolute despair, something can shift. A single thought can be the pivot point that flips the mind from I'm a victim to I'm an actor. I can do something.
And a lot of the time, it starts with an internal voice, right? A memory, a piece of advice you got years ago. For Mariana, it was her Uncle Merlin's voice. A simple, direct command that just sliced right through all the panic. Use your head. It's a jolt. A reminder that she has agency, that she actually has a tool she can use to fight back.
Let's just call this what it is, the mental shift. Yeah, a psychologist might call it cognitive reframing, but it's actually much simpler than that. It's that fundamental pivot from focusing on what has happened to you to focusing on what you can do next. It's the exact moment you stop being a passenger in your own disaster and you grab the steering wheel.
And look how quickly this mental shift turns into physical action. This is so important. It's not about solving the whole giant problem all at once. It's about breaking it down into the smallest possible, most manageable tasks you can think of. Mariana isn't thinking, I need to build a raft. No. She's thinking, I need to turn onto my stomach. Then, I need to lift my body. Then, I need to stand up. Each tiny action is a small victory, a way of taking back control, 1 inch at a time.
And that right there is the climax of this first critical internal battle. That one single step, it is so much more than just a movement. It's a profound declaration. It's a physical step out of the quicksand of despair and onto the solid ground of active survival. It is the exact moment she chooses to stop being a victim and start becoming a survivor. So really, what Mariana's story shows us so brilliantly is that survival isn't just about what you know, it's about how you think. And it leaves us with a really critical question to chew on, doesn't it? When you're faced with just overwhelming odds, what is that internal switch that separates giving up from fighting back? What is the trigger that makes someone take that first all-important step?